Shalom, peace, peace, assalamu alaikum, my people. Yes, yes, we are here. We got the Western and the Eastern Hemisphere match. Then we have the Atlas with Spain and Portugal and Italy, Switzerland and Austria, with Tunisia and Algeria at the bottom of it, and Sardinia in the middle. Shout out to Kush Bay and his book. We got Italy right here. Shout out to the Times, Comprehensive Atlas of the World. You want a second, my people? You notice this atlas? Notice this atlas is supposed to be the most comprehensive of the world, and it's also attributed to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the same majesty that the trusted United States was handed to, and then it turned into a corporate status or a corporate entity so it can administrate the assets that's in the trust of the United States that is supposed to be still ran by the UK or Britain Majesty. Don't ever get it confused, y'all. This is what it confuses you by names. The names are just different establishments or different organizations that are established under the main monarchy or gold. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I switched monarchy for gold, because the monarchy shares a certain interest, which is, of course, its resources and certain rare commodities that allow them to stay afloat and allow them to prosper in current times. That's why we use currency. Everything is about being current. This is why knowledge is important. And if you don't grow, then you won't be able to grow. You'll be stuck in the same motion, the same current. Your circuit will not be able to grow. You can't feed a big building more energy than you got. You feel me? Sorry, I'm an electrician. I do construction, so this is the only way I can see it. My point is the building that big and the building consists of 100 kilowatts, but you only can supply 120 volts or 240 volts, the regular house things, then you can't, that building will not be supplied with energy. This is how the body works. Our people are malnourished. Our people are dehydrated, suffering from sleep deprivation, and our energy doesn't allow us to capture the whole current situation as it is via noticing where we came from so we can know where we're going. And this is how you be the most abundant and the most prosperous in your current time, because only real time that matters is now. But that perfect balance of understanding where you came from so you know where you're going perfectly places you in the pertinent ability to accomplish what you need to accomplish in the now so you can be who you are in the future without extra worrying. You see, if I made clear sense. Excuse the echo, I'm inside my study room in the library. Shout out Anacostia Library, which is a what? Indigenous word. Anacostia come from what? Mako chunks. Shout out to the American ancestors in the Western Hemisphere. You dig? We from the Americas. It's the Eastern Hemisphere where we used to trade with people too. The Asiatics. That was one world like we all was. See what I'm saying? Where you can call the whole world Africa. Don't get that confused. This is another thing we get confused these days. Forget that these don't look just like puzzles for no reason. The world is literally expanding like the universe. And I don't want to put religion in it. I like to stay scientific based so we can use our common senses. Let me say that again, because a lot of people think we're being scientific based because we're rejecting religion or spirituality. No, understand that science is just the observance of ... aka God. And God is everything, which means you should be observing everything. Did you get that? See, we're not doing the schisms no more. We're not doing the psychosis and breaking up and separating the mind from the body no more. We have to see this in a holistic view. We have to see this all together. You see what I'm saying? And then we can expand from there, just like the universe did. Just like the world and the earth did, because it will be in heaven as it will be on earth. And again, I don't want to bring up religion or religious verses, but these religious verses didn't come from religion itself, because means to do something again. Legion is a group of people who share a common interest, because that's what life is. That's how we bond. That's how your cells bond and keep your whole body that's full of 100 trillion something cells and bacteria unified, and allow you and me to talk and listen with focus and discernment when we want to, when we choose. That's godly. So, with that being said, in that introduction, again, peace, family. We're not here just to make it sound good for your ears. Clap one time to disperse all the negative energy around you. Wherever you at, claps always disperse negative energy. I suggest you to do it. I'm gonna clap with you one time. Clap again. Yes, sir. So, hallelujah, good day, good understanding, so we can be in righteous currency, righteous movement, righteous understanding. Don't get confused by these English words which have multiple meanings, and different words that can fit for multiple meanings, because they're actually trying to convey a message which stems from the idea or vision in your head. And the idea and the vision in your head, which is 3D as you are, can be versatile and come with different angles or angels with the bibliographies in the ancient Bibles or Torahs is talking about. But again, I'm not here to cause no confusion or no argument. Somebody gonna be like, angels ain't got nothing to do with angles. But hey, I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing what I can see, what we know in black and white. This is what we got to start doing, so we can at least come to a common sense, because they have dispersed the world, and agents have purposely confused you so they can benefit off of our individualism and our separatism, and they can benefit off our ignorance that would never come to light if we don't open our ears and our heart and our senses, which are the stimulations to understanding this world, this 3D world. This is what we have to do, y'all. So if you're a Moor, if you just say you Muslim, or if you a Jehovah's Witness, if you Christian, whatever you are, these are common senses that we all can agree on. See what I'm saying? Don't matter what race you is. Don't matter what you like, you're an artist, what's your hobbies. If you are a human, let's start there, and you're on this earth breathing what we define as oxygen, what we agree to call oxygen, because we can call it anything. But we know we're breathing something, and we know we have a symbiotic relationship with the trees. That's without another person telling you. If you study yourself and then you study trees, you would know you have a symbiotic relationship with trees. But see, this is what I mean, that common sense ain't common, and we're getting taken from our intuition, because our intuition and how we used to study life, how we used to study birds taking flight, how we used to study the leaves getting green and turning different colors through the fall. All of those are scientific observations that we would have did without modern day scientists, because we've been ancient scientists, that tells us that the atmosphere has different pressures, has different gases, and has different other environmental adversities that affect the formations of life via trees, humans, animals. And then that would have furthered our education into, like scientists are studying, how viruses change life, how light codes from the sun change life. This is why that corona mass injection from the sun is actually something serious, but we'll leave that there, because it's giving that into trying to prove things people think are conspiracy but are actually scientifically based. And I don't have time in this moment to try to disperse that, because then people can run around in circles, and they're going to swear I'm running around in circles, and all I'm doing is trying to keep up with your mind and showing you that you're jumping. So with that being said, we're going to stay on logic, and later on I will still get to the scientific part. I can prove everything I'm saying, and we can see it just like we see this map. I want to start by going over here to Spain, because we're correcting history, right? Because other than that, we wouldn't have to do this. We wouldn't know where he was going. I wouldn't have to talk this. But in history, you might think that Portugal, which is this little blue separated line, which means port your girl, like port your ship. Like this is where they're selling from. because they're just learning from the Africans who are right here, because Morocco, which this wasn't Morocco until 1956, so know that the Moors are telling the truth. This is what we have to learn. We have to learn that some people are in their own psychosis or indoctrinations because they get taught from other teachers that call themselves master teachers or are agents, and trying to actually curve you from getting to the actual gate because they're gatekeepers. And my point is, they got some people, some Moors, who stop their knowledge at, oh, I'm a Moor, and that just means that. Well, okay. And I get, that's why some people, when I talk knowledge, they're like, okay, what do that lead to? How do that benefit us in the now? And that's the fact. I like that question when people ask me that. So, this Morocco wasn't founded until 1956. And the reason why that's important is because when we talk about Morocco Empire, yes, it's true that Morocco Empire has nothing to do with just North Africa. It's encompassing different lands and countries, just like Britain, just like France, just like Spain, and them copied later. Because now this is the misnomer. Spain, France, and all these other people, even Portugal and the Castilla, Leon, all of these people in Aragon, which was different kings and different kingdoms from the kings, from monarchs, are actually following the systems that's coming from out of Africa. And again, Morocco wasn't there. These are different kingdoms that are already doing these family nobility type of style or heredity systems. And it still was matriarch. And the reason why I say nobility, because we didn't exactly do monarch, because that goes into a different mindset. Not to mention, now this is what I mean by we have to talk truth, because we start off as humans and then we start to what? Come from the general size and come down to the specific size. We go from the macrocosm down to the micro, to the little. And my point is, now that we understand we're all humans, we all got an arm, leg, arm, head. Now we're trying to figure out who we are. Just like dogs, know they all dogs, or birds, know they all birds. But now they got to pertain to themselves and ascertain their lifestyle to who they are. A blue jay does blue jay things. A crow does crow things. A buzzard does buzzard things. Buzzards eat meat, blue jays don't. So, with that being said, we need more love, more awareness, and more truth. More love, more awareness, and more truth. And when we get that, it wouldn't be hard to say things like, or to admit things for neither race or ethnicity, because I don't believe in race, I believe in nationality and ethnicity. This is why I like the word believe neither, because people say I believe in Jesus, but you should know, I know God. I don't have to believe, I know God. But again, that's why I don't deal with religion. I want to deal with facts. The fact is that these people in Africa was already doing what? And this map actually goes together, because this is Portugal, Spain, France, and then it comes over into Germany and Italy and all this. Austria, it's perfect. Hungary, it's perfect. France ends right here. Then you got Switzerland, Italy, Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, which comes from the word Slovakia, because a lot of these people who dwelled in the Caucasus Mountains, which of course later we call Caucasians, were slaves or servitudes, because it wasn't the rough slavery that we know. We call it indentured servants. They was indentured servants for Middle Eastern and West African nations. And at that time, the nations were religions or legions. So we don't have to do it again. We just let the legions be. That's why we got to tell history and let history be. But it's funny that people ask me why don't I keep talking history, but then when I ask them why they stuck on a religion, they're like, bro, that's God. No, you don't. You can still know God. You can still practice your spirituality, whether you call it faith or whatever, and you don't have to be banging on religion, because you know different from another gangster, unless you're just using the religious books as a reference point, which we all should be doing, because all the books matter. Only thing that doesn't matter is the lie. And it might do, depending on the fact you're trying to find out that it's a lie, if you get that. So anyway, we got Croatia, which is part of Yugoslavia. Look up Yugoslavia. Bosnia and all of that. Then of course over here in more corner, if we had another book, I could finish off and show you Germany. And we all know how things expanded, which is going to be in further sequels of these videos, so I can show y'all how I research and show, improve myself. Okay, this is where language, this is where culture, this is where a lot of this stuff is spread out. And it's not just one way, because a lot of people went this way and then they went back up or they went back home because of different wars and skirmishes in their town. But you always can find out who was last by the language, by the traditions, by how they move, because actions speak louder than words. And what we do know is that Germany and how Germany influenced France. So French people today are actually influenced by Germans and people that's coming out of Austria and Hungary. And we know that Austria, Hungary, and Germans and these people was taught by who? Egyptians, which we got proof with the Rosetta Stone that was spoken in 2-3 different languages so that everybody in those provinces can understand what that stone was saying in the ordinance that the stone was trying to give out. Because obviously different regions, like I'm proving that Morocco was in different regions, the empire, not the state that was founded in 1956, the empire. Over here, they was in different regions living under the same lifestyle because that's what created peace. So this is why the Rosetta Stone was written in 2 to 3 different languages, because Coptic, Egypt, and of course Greek, so they can all understand the same uniformity in that town. Same thing we do today. This is why we were so pressed, or Europeans were so pressed for us to speak one language. And this is why we lost our bilingual gifts, which we also should have stayed bilingual because we are the people of tongues. Let's bring up another psychosis or another gatekeeping schism that's going on with the Israelites. This is why they can't get together. And they're both dark people, but what do they have in common? They're both dark people going through the same struggle, but they can't come together because one thing, Moroccan Empire is only a religion or some type of cult that you got to say, I got to pick down other cults so my cult can feel better. And then somehow the Israelites feel like, again, the only way that they're going to be holy is if they just claim the whole 12 tribe and, and separate themselves from everything else in the current time. Like, no, brother. The point of those stories, which just are a collection of books coming from the old times that was so-called translated, the reference points of those books are just to show you the descendants and people who have came about, because the world was ran off hereditary and the number one law of the land was by bloodline. And this is why we can't lose this, because if we lose this, it will be people mixed everywhere. And again, like now, and there's no pun intended, you will have Caucasians in South Africa saying that they're South African. And later on, you'll be confused about how did the environment of South Africa create this type of being, which is Caucasian, down to its cellular metabolite, which uses sulfite more than the dark people. We use selenium more, selenium based. And notice that counts because that creates a difference in our dietary system, just like the blue jay and just like the crow. The blue jay can't eat meat like the crow, but they're both birds. So it has nothing to do with what? Racism or discrimination. It has everything to do with self-love and awareness for your neighbor. So let's get back to it. Yugoslavia, Egypt, and Sudan in the Middle East were all in cahoots. And how you know the Middle East took over a lot of stuff, because this is why Spain phonetics, is why I say follow the language. Spain phonetics is copy off the proper etiquette of classic Arabic, which gave us the idea to pick the preposition word the such and such, which is AL in Arabic, and then EL in Spain. A lot of old languages, a lot of old history is written in Arabic, translated from Hebrew to Hebraic. Hebraic, hold up, listen to me. It's called Hebraic and Hebraic. Arabic and Hebrew are both what? Semitic languages is what I'm gonna say. And my point is because, not just because they're Afro-Asiatic languages, which don't make sense, because it's part of the Afro-Asiatic people. And Asia was everywhere. Don't let them confuse you. This is not propaganda that I'm pushing. I'm telling you everything that is known throughout history. That's the difference. Some people want to point one way and just keep your mind disturbed so they can control your narrative and make you think what they want you to think. I'm just trying to show you true history. Because my only intent, which is not hidden, is that I'm showing you that we are American, the copper-skinned Americans. You see? The Western Hemisphere. And we was here so long, is that what I'm proving is that the real scientific topic of today should be about how long And how many times did humans survive environmental and catastrophic events on Earth? Because we know we survived many ice ages, and we know we was here before ice ages. See what I'm saying? So that out of Africa theory, or we all come from monkeys theories, is getting thrown in the trash now. It's 2024. See, we know we all don't come from monkeys. We actually know the antigen Rh positive, which are antigens that go against Rh negative people because they don't have those type of antigens, are a trace evidence of humans interbreeding or mixing with another species that we count as mankind today, which is also in the Bible. But again, not religious, I just know the Bible has truth in it. Because even people who translated, even they was trying to hide stuff from us, they still had to put bits and pieces of root and basic truth in there so they didn't lose what they was trying to hide. It's just like putting your keys or your money somewhere and you hid them from yourself. You did that, then you lost in your own sauce. So this is why they couldn't do that. They couldn't lie about everything. They had to just try to control it to the narrative that they wanted it to be. And now we're here clearing it up. What a time to be alive. So what we're saying is, to back out that view, this is the Eastern Hemisphere. You're seeing Africa, you're seeing Algeria. This is what you're seeing. Algiers, Tunisia. These people are up in Italy, believe it. These people are meeting on an island. These people are meeting in Sicily. How do we know? Because this is what the Bible was talking about. When the Bible go back to the Phoenicians, or the people who helped mix the phonetics so we can get on a global phonetic and character system, now we all right, mostly using the main character systems that we all understand so we can translate and commute and convey messages to each other across the world. Via even China, even though they use a different language and characters. But now it's written and it's documented and it's taught to the whole world. My point is that this is what they did all over. See what I'm saying? And we've been doing this for ancient times. That's why we had hieroglyphs, which are an easier way to convey a message because we're visionaries. But again, once we mix with a certain people, which is interbreeded and it's in the Bible, it's called a mankind, coming out the Caucasus Mountains. It has nothing to do with hate, all love. And they was mixing, and the interbreeding of them amongst themselves created their, what we call ethnicity, or some people call race, which I don't get it. I don't know what the race is, but it created ethnicities. And if anybody knows, this is where the inferiority complex might come from other ethnicities, is because some claiming proudly that they did intermarriaging. You know, they married within the family. This is what they try to call a dynasty. And then some people have a problem with saying that because people of our magnitude or caliber or species, I wouldn't say we're different species, we're actually the original human, but people of the original human race, of the original human ethnicity, about to say race, you know what I'm saying? Of the original human ethnicity, we actually we don't have to intermarry with ourselves to produce a certain ethnicity, because we already are the original ethnicity. Us producing with someone randomly that is of our color because the whole world was dark, and that's another thing we're showing. The whole world was indigenous, which actually comes from indigo, and not just saying a person that comes from the land and living natural to the land or native to the land. It actually was coming from like indigo or Indi, like these people are colored everywhere around the world. And we all had different colors. We had dark blue, almost dark blue people in Africa. That's what they call indigo. Dark purple, to us with the copper skin, to us having the red skin. And us mixing across the world, and then finally mixing with the Rh positive gene, which proves rhesus monkeys, which is just actually a representative word, because it's not actually the rhesus monkey, it's just a representative word that the rhesus monkey cousins, which we can all come about and say, because they already proved it, the Neanderthal, and remember these are just words, so let's get the ideology of the Neanderthal. A pale skin, hairier, with straight hair, and sebecus, if I said it right, sebecus is the oil and the fat that's on top of animals' hair. The sebecus that's in their hair, which makes them smell resembling to wet dogs. Again, it's nothing bad. I'm telling you, honest truth. Just like dark people. If you want to talk about my people, dark people smell like onions. Why do we smell like onions? Because our metabolical processing is different. Because we are different species. We sweat out our skin different, and we absorb chemicals through our skin like the sun. And this makes us spoil the foods or the sugars or the nourishment that we had through our skin more than we do through our kidneys. So we smell like onions because our skin is our third kidneys, which is everybody's third kidney since they did what? Interbreeded with us. So they got some of our what? DNA, some of our body functions. And this is why we have different ethnicities now. They're just not a different species, because now the species have mixed. You get me? That's why they want to call it a race, but it's not a race. We know where we've been at already, and we know where we're going. So these different ethnicities actually come from Neanderthals mixing with the original humans. And the versatility within these different ethnicities that they call races stem from the fact that the original people themselves, which is us, dark people, again, with melanin, we are versatile and diverse ourselves, and we've been diverse since day one. Again, Africans been looking like Africans, we've been looking like us. Dark Asians been looking like dark Asians, specifically Melanesians, which are brown-skinned people with different colored hair, blue eyes. Australians been different, but we all are dark people. European dark people been different, the Southern Europeans, because if you go back farther enough, Southern European consists of most of Spain, and then at the bottom of France. But above France, like again, going to Switzerland, Germany, going up to Hungary and Russia, a lot of that was what? If we go back to the antediluvian stage, which somehow they skip. They don't tell you this part. During the antediluvian stage, or what we call the flood periods, most of this was ice. So nobody was up here. This is how we know it's a problem in inferiority complex, when they always want to say everybody's from out of Africa. There's something when you come out of Africa, we got a different species and a different color. And obviously we want to blame it on the climate change. No, that's not the case. We still people. We see South Africans got Caucasians in it. We see America has Caucasians in it. And it's near the equator lines. And these people still have not turned dark after 500 years, 1,000 years. Let's stop it. Only been 500, but even if we do another 500 years, they're not going to turn dark because of the sun, because they have a different metabolic processing. They use sulfite, the sulfite even in their skin down to their kidneys, which they produce and use their body functions for more than we do with our kidneys. The sulfite that boils in their skin and their kidneys wouldn't even allow them to take on the color that we have. No matter what you say and put them in the sun, they're going to boil. It's two different things. Again, this is why we got to stop the reverse psychosis, because now you see how that's reverse psychosis? We got to shun how we are. We got to shun the organic body that we came with, just so we can make somebody else feel comfortable. Not so they can feel happy, so they can feel comfortable. When it's not our problem that we made like we are and you made like you are. Then you reverse it and make us feel bad for the fact that we made that as we are. It made us feel inferiority, but we actually just who we are. And y'all are just who you are. So, anyway, like I said, at the bottom, this is Algeria, this is Morocco, this is Algeria. And then next to it, like I said, you got Tunisia. And these are all Africans. And next to Tunisia, you're going to have nowadays called Libya and then Egypt. But Libya didn't exist. It was just all Egypt or Misraim at that time. And then next to that, you got Saudi Arabia or the Middle East. See what I'm saying? So I just want y'all to get that. Yeah. So next to Germany, Hungary, I just turned the book over here. This is what is next to Germany, Austria, and Hungary is Romania, Bulgaria. So I'm saying, you just study this, y'all, just in case you out there. You might take a trip. Y'all be pressed to take trips. Hey, go to London or Australia or something. You know where you at least. You know what I'm saying? Moldova, Ukraine. They just sent 10 billion over there. You need to know where that's at too. See what I'm saying? And then down here at the southern part, where all the intellectual Caucasians was. Why? Because they was interbreeding with the already intellectual original people of the earth that happened to be in Sudan and Egypt, and Ethiopia. And the ones who crossed the Sea to read, so-called, like the Ethiopians did, which you can see in their face, they look like what? They look like Middle Easterns or Saudi Arabia. people. So you can tell that they come from that type of stock. Ethiopians help make Saudi Arabians, and Saudi Arabians interbreeding with themselves help establish their genetics. See, I grow food and I mix in parent plants, so I know this is how you stabilize the genetics. Excuse me, that's why I say life will teach you how to be knowledgeable and wise and to gain wisdom, because the things and the tools and applications that God made you deal with in life is going to make you understand and correlate God language. And God language is mathematics and science, and he teaches you through that. So that again, me parenting plants showed me, yo, the human DNA does the same thing. This is how all these other ethnicities that we call races popped up. And you can actually tie every race and ethnicity back to a dark original human. And or the Neanderthal that the original human interbreeded with to make all these other ethnicities, which is in the Bible. Excuse my language, I'm tongue-tied right now, so I'll be hyped over this. The children of God should not mate with mankind. And today, they emphasize the fact that they say the angels of God should not mate with mankind, and you forget that you're an angel or angle of God. But anyway, I go past that too. I'm only doing this proving that we've been here from the beginning, and that all of this up here up north, near the North Pole, near the Arctic Circle as they call it, was all ice. And only places like this, Italy and stuff, was fertile and just receding with fresh water from ice mixed with salt water from the seas. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? I even call this the ion sea. You know, ions is coming from the salts and the minerals that's in the water, because the minerals in the water create the ions in the water. There you go. You see what I'm saying? When they clash and the minerals clash together, it creates what? The transfer of electricity. So this whole world is electrical. This whole world is spiritual, because electricity is another word for saying spiritual, because this is what spirituality is. It's electricity manifesting itself in the three different type of forms that is known to human: liquid, solid, and gas. That is spiritual. This whole world is spiritual. Don't let them confuse y'all. They're making us get out of our mind and confusing us. What they did was study who we are, because who we are gods, which is everything in life. And we are multi-dimensional people, which is the reason why trying to make us focus on one thing too long gives us ADHD, which is the reason why us being malnourished and not allowed to dive into our mental faculties, because we don't have all the energy to storehouse these mental faculties, is causing what? Mental disorders amongst our people. See, this is why I say we don't know that. I'm talking basic stuff, but this basic stuff is going to lead to the whole economic and social security that we actually deserve. Feel what I'm saying? So again, like I say, y'all, this perfect term. Sudan, Ethiopia, you know, what they called the so-called burnt faces back then. It's the Red Sea that they crossed. The Gulf of Aden, like the Garden of Aden. So again, this is a middle trade port. It had nothing to do with just life was only here. It's that this Gulf of Aden or Garden of Eden, which we know was near here, not because Africa is just the start of life, it's because it was the center, trade center. It's coming from the Pacific and Indian Ocean. The Pacific and Indian Ocean is coming from where? Indonesia, and all the places where we grow coconuts and all the other exotic foods. And then Hawaii, and where the Polynesians was trading with the original what? Dravidians and the original what? Australians, who were already dark. Because poly means mixed, which means they was mixing thousands of years ago. That's what I'm telling you. And you think they stopped at Hawaii, or did they cross the whole Hawaii and make it to America? Which we were still already here too. They was mixing with us. But this is why you get the lighter or pale Native American that's on the west side. And no, he did not just go from the Siberian Straits, which is all the way up here, and then walked all the way down to South America and just sat right there. And somehow all his other cousins and other family members of the same haplotype came across the Siberian Straits and then did the same thing and went all the way down there until they filled up in North America. It didn't happen like that, y'all. I bet they want to, but it just didn't happen like that, guys. Not because I said it, because the logic in it. The logic. Not to mention by the time it was found, this is why recording and documentation is important. And remember, the Caucasian didn't start that. They're just our stewards. And they are perfecting that. We started this, and this is why we have the Bible in collections of books that we call bibliography, to go back and look at and say, hey, this is what happened in the past, or this is why this is important. This is how we learn from our mistakes, because that's called politics. And this is why politics believe in recordation and everything being written down. So again, this is why we need to know where we came from and know where we're going, because the only reason why we're here now and we have all this documentation and we have all this order going on in our world and our society is because where we came from. We learn. We're learning beings. We have a gift of God. We're not just impulsive. We're just not stuck to our impulse, being impulsive. To our desires. And this is what the whole religious books and bibliographies are talking about. How to get closer to God and live serene and not be compulsive or impulsive like the mammals who are stuck to that. So it's not their fault, it's not right or wrong. They are part of a whole bigger system. God gave you a piece, a big percentage of the idea or concept of life, so you can have the choice of what we call freedom to choose your intent and momentum in your everyday life path, unlike animals have to do. They just live it out and be part of the economic and environmental cycle of life. Even though some part we still are, because everybody has to what? We all got to pass away. So it's about what you're doing now. And this is why, again, we believe in recordation, so it can last forever. Because words, like the word of God, let there be light, last forever, especially if people carry them out. That's the whole point of hereditary or heritage. That's the whole point of us bringing back the importance of bloodline and nobility, because losing those ways is the reason why we keep drifting away from our traditions. You see? Drifting away from our traditions leaves drifting away from traditions means we're drifting away from our what? Culture, our morals, our self-identity. Without self-identity, we definitely don't know morals. Without the morals and self-identity, then guess what? Anything can happen, like us being punished now. Like us driving around this fertile land and creating more drought because we don't want to grow food and we want to do mass production on farming and wait till they feed us. And if that's the case, then they got to stretch it like drugs, which means they got to chemicalize the food that they grow in the fields and then do some engineering to it. And then we going to go do something for another man's idea of life that he called a career, or he called his job. Or I mean, we call our job, but he called his living out his goals just so we can go eat. In this drought world that we're actually doing ourselves, trying to pick the right words. Yeah, man, like Yemen. Yeah, man. We're causing our own destruction. And all I'm doing is warning us to stop it. This is what Jesus said he was going to do anyway. But now here with a double-edged sword, which is going to what? Show y'all peace, but also give the people who are about destruction because they're being deceitful, we're going to give them what they want too. Anyway, this is the west coast of Africa, y'all. This is where Africans was trading down the coast already. This is where Africans was learning about the trade winds that coming over here to Brazil to trade with us. This is why Brazilian indigenous people or autochthonic people had guanine spears, which their metallurgy, according to metallurgists, was tested to be similar to the same genetic metals that was made over here in West Africa, especially specifically Ghana. Ghana had these type of metal spears, specifically the Dahomey tribe, who was known to participate in indentured servitude, not the brutal slavery that you know of, but indentured servitude. And indentured servitude was, again, the fulfillment of obligations or jobs, usually through plantations, so another nation can benefit off the trade. And of course, you benefit off whatever the nation contracted you with. Same thing we run society with now. Citizens benefit off the benefit. Citizens get the benefits from the major corporations or the major organizations that represent us in government, because we the people are supposed to be the government. But we hire representatives, or we appoint representatives, or we designate representatives, or we put our faith in representatives. Watch what I said. So anyway, this is the Democratic Republic of Congo, which all of this is the Congo, y'all. So you could tell a lot of Africa is actually just being named, because back in the 1800s, as long as they know this was the Congo, then some of this was the Congo. It wasn't until like the 1900s that this was named the Democratic Republic of Congo. Don't hold me to when. I don't know how late in the 1900s. All I know is a lot of this stuff is being separated and made and claimed in modern times. This is another reason why we know that this whole this Atlantic slave trade by the millions is a lie. What we do know is that some Africans which were already trading here, and it's a good chance that they was trading here, and the ones that was trading here and trading in Southern Europe was for thousands of years via the Phoenician stories inside the Bible. Look up the Carthage. I can give you names. Carthage. Carthage is in Morocco. Carthage is on the west side of Morocco, y'all. Remember, Morocco was not made, the state, I'm sorry, was not made until 1956. When I say Morocco, I'm talking about the empire, which encompassated some of the east of America and west of the Africas, because we were doing trade across the Atlantic Ocean ourselves way before the Atlantic so-called slave trade, which wasn't that. Because if you read the story right, what they did was reverse psychology and start calling our people pirates. When you had different people that was pirates. It wasn't about black or white, but they made it this game and made it seem like the skin color mattered. But you had, again, different nations who was coming from here. And how do you know? Because all the way back in the Bible, it was telling you, Carthage had a war with what? King Judah or Juba, which he had what? Trade posts in the Middle East already, which you are talking about the Israelites. And the Israelites are not just one group of people who were stuck to the Middle East. You're talking about different nations all over the world who used to come to this trade center at the Gulf of Eden or the Garden of Eden to come trade. You feel me? With Rub al-Khali. So this is why when the Europeans came to Americas and finally met the Mayans that I'm a descendant of, they told them that the year or the calendar domain that they was in, because a calendar domain is usually named after the king. Like, say our king was named Sid, like me. You will say, today is June 6, 2024, in the year of our king Sid. When the Spanish came over here, the Mayans told them that they was in such and such year of the House of Cali. House of Cali is like caliphates, or the same way king means in Cali, or a person of prominent position still means in Cali, or still means in Arabic for Cali. But we have been trained not to think that this was a global or a worldwide ancient trade system going on already. And it was. This is how we can tell through the language. Again, like Phoenicians who spread the phonetics through the Mediterranean Sea, which was just another trade port, y'all. See, it's like if you gotta walk to school, you gotta deal with bullies every day when you take that path. It's not about being scared or not. It's like, do I want to deal with that today? And I'm just gonna go this way, because you're trying to take a different route to secure your best way to get to what you're interested in, which is resources, like we all are, eating. Salt, which was pertinent back then because they needed to save their food. Not a black or white thing, not a race thing. Legions. It's about legions, about sharing the same interests. Because interest is a bank word. Interest is how you stay current. Current is another bank word. Bonds is another bank word. The only way you can make bonds is if you share the same interest. So this is why our people fail for individualizing themselves. You can't individualize yourselves, even if you got to figure out how you can make compartments like they did to come together. So if he does clothes, he does photo shooting, the other dude does building designs. Hey, ask him to do the building design, man, can you come build and design this building that we're going to rent, or do you know any buildings for rent? And then the photographer going to get hired, or the photographer going to network with the person that make clothes so they both can promote their skills. But we have to see the vision within that, see the currency within that, because without that, then we're just going up to each other like, well, I need this amount of money for this, for my skills. And another person like, well, I got this type of skills, and I have you in my budget plan to spend this medium of exchange that we call Federal Reserves yet. Or I didn't have this. And instead of doing that, we don't know how to create money to the point, the original currency, which was the promise, was your word. See how this still goes off the Bible? It was your word. Like, hey, I do this, I can generate this amount for you if you do this for me. So I might not got it all now, but I can do this. And a lot of people might call that betting out of thin air, for lack of better terms. And my point is, this is what credit checks are about. Also seeing a person reference, seeing a person if he's already making that type of money on his commodities or assets, on his skills. And if not, then you also can trade for skills. You might can do them per unit or per performance. So if he can only perform what he can only perform the amount of whatever resources you need that day or whatever skills you need that day, then you only can trade him or pay him for whatever he did that day. Vice versa, y'all. When we understand this, we'd be so far, like, because this is what the other races are doing. They're not just living by Federal Reserves. They're using this skill base, they're using assets, they're using commodities to leverage their way through life. Because that is the first money. Currency, if you want to say. As Congress has the rights to term the current, to coin the term money. For whoever's need to know. Read your Constitution. So I'm just giving you a good look at West Africa, y'all, who was already trading. Even the word Atlas, y'all, the same Atlas that we talk about. Matter of fact, let's do that. Hallelujah. So y'all, this is why y'all say definitely invest into my history book or our story, because we're going to find out what happened to all of us around the world, the truth. Atlas, which was an actually known story in West Africa, that Atlas, they call them Atlas, which is why we call this an Atlas, is because these people of West Africa, which was part of Morocco Empire, knew how to sail through the whole world. And it was a story about a king named Atlas who sailed through pretty much of the whole world, and of course through the hills of Hercules, which these hills was made from the fact that Spain was touching Africa. So don't get confused by the names again, y'all, because how we know that this wasn't part of Europe, which is this, which means that Europe actually is Africa. Okay then, y'all. There you go. See what I'm saying? So Caucasians actually could still be African, because Europe, according to the definitions of continent, is not its own continent. It's not surrounded by all bodies, by a large body of waters on all sides. Actually, it's Eurasia. And Eurasia is still called onto Middle Asia, or the Asia Minor as they call it, which we call Middle East, is still connected to Africa. So why it's not all Asia, or we just call it all Africa? Because what we did was create stereotypes and dirty labels on certain continents. And this would help create the individualism of separating them, you see? And I'm not mad at people separating themselves, even down to Africa. Again, if an African person don't call themselves African, he's gonna say I'm Sudan, Chaldean, Algerian, and that's good. We gotta respect our diversity, because when we respect that diversity, that is our power, y'all. But we gotta respect it by using the truth and figure out how we all really connect, because that is a power. We connect, actually. The difference is how we isolated ourselves and how God inbred us to take on the versatilities and diversities that life blesses us with. Because the life itself allows our personalities to reflect the diversity in the environment, to reflect the diversity in the environment, and to reflect the versatility in the environment. So we can't look the same and always the same, because everybody's atmosphere is different. The southern atmosphere is different from the eastern atmosphere. The eastern atmosphere is different from the western atmosphere. The western atmosphere is different from the north. This is what I'm trying to get y'all to see. And it was nothing to understand the trade winds and the coordinates. This is why they have coordinates, y'all, from 45 degrees. They already knew from West Africans, people like under King Atlas, which again they call it a mythical story, but the myths don't come from nowhere. These are real people who created stories that they understood how to get out of the Mediterranean Sea and change coordinates to know how to flow on the Atlantic Ocean, because the Atlantic Ocean flowetry or trade winds are very much different from the Mediterranean Sea. So you have to be prepared once you come out the hills of Hercules to how to navigate the stormy ocean or body of water. You see what I'm saying? Because you'll get lost or ate up or swallowed. And that's what's going on. This is why Atlas, which is as mythical as we want to seem, is actually based on true stories of how people was adorned and honored and looked upon as prestigious people and smart and intelligent to be able to travel these seas. To travel this ocean, which is bigger than the Mediterranean Sea. Those are for the small fries. This was for the big guys, to the kings, to come across the chiefs that had noble people that they can trust to come across these seas and come back with commodities, even after they done spend the whole 6 months to a year out here, because again, they're running trade with Americas. And let's add that these people of West Africa, via like Mali, like Mansa Musa brother, who's been known to take a trip over here. It's not just a myth, but they want to call it a myth because the people who conquered all your information in Europe did this on purpose, and they don't want to show you the real documentations that Timbuktu, which correlates with the Egyptian library that got sacked by Alexandria, because they all was showing information. This is why Mansa Musa took a trip over here. They all was the birth of the idea of globally and internationally unifying people through trade. They've been doing that. It was called the Sahel Desert Trade. See what I'm saying? They already knew about this. This is why Arabics, or Arabs so-called, which is really dark people with bushes, was using Congolese people as slaves. See what I'm saying? And again, all this was open space. It wasn't called the Democratic Republic of Congo. That was used to start protecting this area. It wasn't called Central African Republic. That was used to start protecting this area. This area was open game, as they call it. Just so y'all can see history a little bit better. Here's Cape Verde. How do we know people don't just come from West Africa? Let's go back to the language. Let's go back to foods, to stuff that they can't change. So we know corn, we know rubber, we know chocolate, we know cabbage, we know watermelon. Yeah, we can keep going. We know all of that comes from America. Sweet wormwood, they try to say come from Asia, it comes from America. And somehow, cotton, and I'm not gonna say it comes from just America, but it's native to America, and you can tell by the DNA of the cotton where it comes from. All of this started growing here. So how did West Africans start growing? How did West Africans start growing corn? How did they start growing watermelons? How did they start growing chocolate? How did Congo start producing rubber? Well, not just the Caucasian who industrialized it throughout the colonies that was late in Africa and Central Africa. What happened was we already had trade in corn, which was already growing in West Africa and East Africa before Christ, which is on Indian, or India is over here in India too, which is on India statues with a lady holding the corn in her hand as they're doing the corn, because again, corn helped a major stock product or a major resource that helped feed a town, which created accessibility to manpower, and manpower created what? Towns, villages, cities, nations, created all of that. And this is how you know that somebody had to come to America and didn't come over here, because the only way you got corn, which we can prove out of genetics, come from the teosinte plant, Tesointe, and they'll correct me if I'm wrong. It comes from America, y'all. That's what we saying. And I wanted to get the maps to show y'all that. Feel me? Shalom. Hello? What do you do?